Welcome to This Explainer. If you've been keeping an eye on how incredibly fast tech is moving lately, you already know we're sitting at a massive inflection point. Welcome to 2026. This is it, the year those huge macro trends finally graduate from dense research papers and just collide head-on into applied industrial reality. We're seeing a really profound convergence across sectors that, honestly, until right now, seem to be developing on completely parallel but totally separate tracks.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to unpack 5 key areas: the convergence moment, AI-native 6G networks, the quantum computing leap, green hydrogen energy, and finally, humanoid robots. Let's get started.
All right, Section 1, 2026, the convergence moment.
It is absolutely vital that we look at this era not as some far-off science fiction, but as our present, hard reality. And I promise you, by the end of this explainer, you are going to see exactly how these massive, seemingly distinct industries are tied together by one central nervous system: artificial intelligence. For proof, just look at Gartner's top strategic technology trends for 2026. If we zero in on that immediate 1 to 3 year horizon, what emerges? Well, we see AI native development platforms, AI supercomputing platforms, and physical AI. AI is no longer just a cool software feature, it is literally the foundational engine that is accelerating every single sector we're about to explore today.
Moving on to Section 2, AI-native 6G networks.
So, if we're actually going to have this AI everywhere reality, our global telecommunications, they have to fundamentally change to support massive data loads. And this brilliantly illustrates that shift. SK Telecom's 2026 white paper showcases their vision for future network architecture, which they call Athena. And look, this isn't just about getting faster download speeds on your phone anymore. This is a blueprint showing how mobile networks are actively evolving right now to support complex, physical AI and highly immersive services. The network itself is quite literally becoming intelligent.
Let's actually break down that Athena acronym. It stands for AI, Trust, Hyperconnectivity, Experience, Open, and Agility. Now, the absolutely critical component here is the dual role of AI. SK Telecom envisions this moving along 2 very specific axes. First, you have AI for network. This basically means the network uses AI to optimize its own performance, predict failures, and manage resources completely autonomously. Second, there's network for AI, and that means the infrastructure is specifically built to support the massive proliferation of AI services. It ensures that things like autonomous vehicles and complex physical robots actually have the ultra-low latency and high-reliability connectivity they desperately need to function out in the real world.
Which brings us to Section 3, the quantum computing leap.
Now, if 6G is providing the data highways for AI, we still need some unprecedented computational muscle to actually process all that data, right? Well, just look at this number, $2 billion. That is the record investment figure poured strictly into quantum computing startups back in 2024. That was 4 times the amount invested just 5 years prior to that, and the numbers for 2026 are only scaling higher. This is incredibly exciting stuff because it grounds the highly complex kind of abstract theory of quantum mechanics into a hard, undeniable economic reality. The market is aggressively funding this massive leap from theoretical physics straight into operational computing.
But to actually make that leap a reality, the industry has to achieve what's known as fault-tolerant quantum computers, or FTQC. And doing this requires 2 major steps. First up, better hardware. We simply need more physical qubits that are inherently less prone to environmental disturbances. Second, we need smart software for efficient error correction. You see, quantum computers are notoriously sensitive to noise and decoherence, which can just totally ruin calculations. So the crucial point here is how AI steps in to fix this. According to the I/O Plus 2026 report, artificial intelligence is acting as that much-needed smart software, helping to improve quantum circuits and actually correct these errors on the fly. AI is literally helping quantum computers realize their own potential. Meanwhile, those same quantum computers will very soon provide the immense power needed to train the next generation of AI. It's just a perfect, constantly accelerating feedback loop.
All right, Section 4, scaling green hydrogen energy. So we've got these massive 6G networks, quantum computers, and AI supercomputing platforms. And guess what? They all require a staggering, almost incomprehensible amount of electricity. To meet this demand without destroying the planet in the process, we have to look at the physical energy layer that's powering it all. The booming $13.56 billion green hydrogen market in 2026.
What you're seeing here is the internal schematic of a proton exchange membrane, or PEM, electrolyzer cell. As of 2026, green hydrogen has completely transitioned from being just a theoretical decarbonization tool into a primary industrial energy vector. In fact, PEM technology has successfully captured 38% of the market. And why is that? Well, because renewable energy like wind and solar is intermittent, right? The wind stops blowing, the sun goes behind a cloud. The incredibly rapid response time of PEM electrolyzers makes them the perfect flexible load. They can absorb excess power during peak renewable production and rapidly shut down when production drops, basically perfectly managing the modern smart grid.
Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is that while PEM is fantastic for that fast response time, a massive breakthrough has happened with solid oxide electrolyzer cells, or SOEC. Because they operate at very high temperatures, they are achieving over 80 to 85% electrical efficiency, and they're actually being integrated with industrial waste heat right now to minimize the extra energy they need to run. It's a huge step forward.
So let's see how this actually scales into real infrastructure management, weaving that central thread of AI right back into the picture. Volatile, high-pressure hydrogen plants require some seriously sophisticated safety monitoring. And they're doing this by leveraging digital twins, which are basically virtual real-time replicas of the physical plant. By feeding IoT sensor data into these AI predictive analytics dashboards, utility operators can now predict a component failure up to 30 days in advance. Think about that. This level of intelligence is cutting operations and maintenance costs by 15 to 20%. Once again, AI is the key enabler, making the physical scaling of this technology economically viable.
And finally, Section 5, humanoid robots enter the workforce.
This right here is the ultimate physical manifestation of everything we've talked about so far. We've got the AI brains, the 6G connectivity, the computational power, and the energy infrastructure. And honestly, we need this urgently. With working-age populations projected to decline by up to 22% by 2050, humanoid robots are stepping in to fill a massive, existential labor void. Just consider this absolutely vital economic anchor. Projected operating costs of just $2 per hour. Yep, $2. That staggering data point comes straight from Roland Berger's 2026 market analysis. When you can operate a highly capable, physically embodied AI for $2 an hour in regions facing severe labor scarcity and rising wage pressures, the economic case becomes undeniably strong. This single metric is exactly why the humanoid robot market is projected to reach anywhere from $300 to $750 billion by 2035. I mean, that's rivaling the size of today's automotive industry.
But how this technology actually gets to market is currently split right down geopolitical lines, and two distinct strategies are taking shape. On one hand, China is pursuing a strategy of rapid hardware deployment. They are pushing out thousands of units into controlled environments to learn through massive physical scale and manufacturing dominance. Conversely, the West is leaning heavily into an AI-first approach. Their strategy focuses heavily on generating high-quality training data, building really robust foundation models, and ensuring the robot software can generalize from highly structured factories to totally unstructured everyday environments. We are essentially watching two completely different industrial flywheels spinning up simultaneously to capture the exact same market.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. The 2026 convergence is officially here. We are watching AI act as this incredible universal catalyst. It's optimizing the 6G networks, it's actively correcting the quantum computers, it's safeguarding the green hydrogen grid, and it's acting as the brain for an entirely new robotic workforce. The old, isolated silos of technology, they're gone. So my question to you is this: how are you positioning yourself for the collision of AI, quantum infrastructure, green energy, and robotics? The future isn't approaching anymore. It is our present reality. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we continue to decode the world around us.